Today we have a story of a Redditor who messed up by letting their friends see what they kept in their freezer. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, our next story is, today I messed up by accidentally rejecting a girl and only realizing it 1 hour later. A few hours ago, I was waiting for the bus when a group of young people sat down near me. Right after, two girls sat down, one of them being full of smiles. The guy from the group came over to me and, in a really friendly way, said, "Hey, my friend thinks you're cute and wants your Instagram." As a guy, it's literally the first time anything like that has ever happened to me, so I was caught off guard and in a pretty uneasy situation. Plus, I'm a nerd, bro. I don't even have Insta. So I tell him honestly, "I don't have Insta, man." Then, to make it clear, I turn to the girl and say, "Yeah, I don't have Insta." And she immediately answers with disappointment and annoyance, "Nobody wants your Insta anyway." In my head, I'm like, alright, the guy was trolling me and she's clearly not interested. But then the guy insists a bit, even pulls out a piece of paper and tells me I can just write my Insta down for her. At that point, I think, okay, he's making fun of me. So I just tell him, "I'm not interested." He simply replies, "No problem, bro," handshake, and goes back to the girls. I left right after, but on my way home I kept thinking, why was the guy so respectful and insistent if this was just a joke? Then it hit me an hour later, after a female friend had to explain it to me. He was genuinely being her wingman, and the girl just got her ego hurt because I rejected her twice. Once by telling her friend, and then again by telling her directly. God, please grant me basic social skills. Edit. Wow, this post blew up a little bit, and I'm not used to that since I usually just ghost Reddit, but big thank you for the answers. To clarify a few things, the girl was pretty young, maybe 18 or 19 years old, while I'm 23 years old. That must explain why she shifted from full of smiles to annoyed and disappointed when she interpreted my behavior as a rejection. I honestly don't blame her, she's still young, but I find the situation funny and I think I could have read the room better. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't think OP really messed up here. Is it a crazy thing to not have an Insta? I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I don't have an Insta. Well, actually I do, but it's not even me, it's just like an account I made to follow sports team stuff. Like, I don't have any friends on it, I don't talk on it, I definitely don't post pictures on it. I don't know, I guess in that situation I still could have given an Instagram, but still, I don't think OP messed up. I don't think it's fair to assume that just everybody who's younger has an Instagram. Cool as your dad commented, "I'm not sure you messed up. You don't have Insta? Me too." If she was interested, they could have asked you to join them. Friend asking you to write down after you said you don't have it is weird. Her reactions lashing out is also a bit weird, in my honest opinion. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy stories of Redditors who severely messed up, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? Our next story is, today I messed up by putting my drawers on the free table at work. Last weekend, I cleaned out my closet. I'm early 20s, and I have my first professional job post-college. I have a lot of clothes that don't fit or out of date or not appropriate for the office, etc. And I know several of my coworkers have kids who are 15 to 20 who would love my clothes from that time. They're still in good shape, so I bring my old clothes to the free table at my work break room. People can anonymously give or share things here, and sometimes it's good stuff. Anyways, on Monday, I brought in a whole bag of old clothes after cleaning out my closet and left it in that bag on the table because I was in a hurry and didn't have time to dump them out. I've been out of the office working the last 4 days, so today I come back to people talking about the dirty underwear on the free table. I agree that's an odd thing to bring in to donate, and then the conversation escalates. They start to describe the underwear in question, the old misshapen Walmart bra meant for a preteen chest, the underwear with holes and color bleaching from being washed so many times, the thong I bought in high school because I swore was going to make me one of the popular girls, but never wore because I was a weenie. It was me. I was the underwear donating bandit. I had a panic attack in front of everyone when I realized they were, in fact, talking about my crusty old undies and not some strangers. I sat in the hallways and cried while my face went from bright red to pale and then eventually back to normal skin color. One of my other coworkers, who's an absolute angel, gave me her water and sat me down while I hyperventilated trying to figure out how this possibly could have happened. She threw away my crusty undies, and nobody will be the wiser to ever know they were mine. But everyone has seen or heard about them. There was an email I meant to put those and several other ratty but less risque items into the trash bag right next to the donate bag in my closet. I had put them into the wrong bag, and in my hurry, I didn't double check to make sure everything was in the correct location. I know this will all blow over, it's just an honest mistake and I'll be able to laugh about it soon, but right now I'm convinced I'll melt into the ground when I have to walk into the building tomorrow. Anybody else embarrass themselves this badly? So, I stopped to try to think to myself, have I ever embarrassed myself quite that badly? And I think, unfortunately, uncomfortingly for OP, I don't think I've really, put myself out there in a way that embarrassed myself. I've had situations before where, a much older sibling's partner walked in while I was in the bathroom changing or something, but I can't really think of a situation where, I created the embarrassment, really. Certainly not then commented, "As traumatic as this seems, it's just a silly mistake that will quickly be forgotten. We've all done something like it. Be glad you had an angel, and no one knows it was you, so you don't get called bandit at work. You're actually handling it very clear-headed knowing it'll blow over. You should be proud of yourself. And now you have an excuse to buy a thong that you'll wear." OP responded commenting, "I'm really hoping so. I think I outed myself by crying about it mid-conversation, and now I don't know if it's better to own it and pretend I'm not bothered, or deny. Our next story is, today I messed up, I got too high, and lost my job. So this didn't actually happen today, but several years ago, I was an assistant manager for a smallish regional construction supply distributor. I'd been with the company about 4 years when this all went down. I had graduated college without a real plan, bounced between some jobs and needed money, so I landed with this company. Basically, I had a whole suite of miscellaneous duties that didn't really fall under any specific umbrella, just consolidating a bunch of roles into a new made-up position. However, when I started at this company, I was just a warehouse worker. As the assistant manager and someone with significant warehouse experience, when the warehouse manager was unavailable, I had to do his job. So one week, the warehouse manager goes on vacation, so I'm on warehouse duty. There's a team of about 8 guys who report to me in this case. No biggie, I've done it before. Monday through Thursday, smooth sailing. I don't like the work and it's long hours, but I get her done. Thursday night, I'm gaming, having a couple of beers, hanging with my roommate. He asks if I want an edible. I used to smoke a lot, but at the time, rarely, so my tolerance for THC was very low. I say sure and take one. 10 milligrams THC, nothing crazy. Hour goes by, and I'm definitely a little high, but feeling good. Roommate asks how it is, and I tell him the case, and he offers another one, much stronger. This is the major freak up. I'm having a classic, "this edible ain't crap" moment. Now, I know he told me, but it didn't register in the moment that this was a 300 milligram gummy, and the implications of that seemed trivial. It's just weed, right? Down the hatch. Takes a little while longer to kick in, but once it did, I was cooked. I already hadn't been sleeping as much as normal from the weird hours covering in the warehouse, so I'm getting delirious. I go to bed, but I'm bugging. Full-blown panic attack, tossing and turning all night, feel like I can't breathe without a moment's peace. I wouldn't call it sleep, but eventually I lose consciousness. No idea the time. 6 a.m., my alarm goes off. I need to be there in an hour. Freak me, man. I was a husk of a human being. Maybe if I close my eyes for 20 more minutes, I can shake it off. It's just weed. Why do I feel like this? 20 minutes go by, and I'm not okay. Fine. Throw on some clothes and shoes. I can do this. Shaking like a leaf, not a coherent thought in my mind other than fear and the need to accomplish the task at hand. I make it downstairs. I'm almost out the door. The guys are counting on me. I can't do it. Brain is mush. My couch is right there. They'll understand if I'm 20 minutes late. I lie down for more not quite sleep. I'm officially late. My legs feel like a newborn baby giraffe taking its first cautious steps in a terrifying world. I stumble to my car at a snail's pace and sit down in the driver's seat. Somehow I have to drive this thing? Impossible. I sit there and nod off in the seat. My phone is buzzing. I'm getting phone calls from work. I'm an hour late. Where are you, OP? I can't answer. I can't form a word, let alone explain myself to a human being right now. I make the decision. My boss doesn't work Fridays, so I text the work homie some nonsense about being sick, which wasn't entirely untrue given the circumstances. Then I take my butt back inside and pass the freak out. A bigger mess up would have been trying to drive, honestly. I would have hurt myself or others almost certainly. I feel like the shell left behind from a molted caterpillar when I wake. Utterly empty, no neurons firing. It's probably 2 p.m. No activity on my phone. The weekend goes by, and I get a text from my boss Sunday night. I must see him Monday. Time to face the music. Monday comes, and I'm mentally prepared for the worst. I step into his office and get reamed, which is understandable, all things considered. I let my team down in a critical moment, plus I can't exactly explain the circumstances behind my absence, but the way he did it really rubbed me the wrong way. Hard to explain the nuance of our relationship, but this guy is a narcissist with a major stick up his butt. Not fired. That's good, I guess. Basically, my pay was unaffected, but I was super demoted. Back to square one and with no path to redemption. Those warehouse guys who were reporting to me could count me among their number once again. Time to lock in. I start the job hunt with conviction. My old position was filled by someone far less competent and even less reliable than I was at the time, which did sting a little. It takes about 5 months for me to secure new employment. I take this opportunity to find a good job though, not just any job. During that time, I don't have a single conversation with my boss that wasn't against my will. I avoid the man like a plague. I already strongly disliked him. That boiled over to outright hatred after this, which, looking back, seems unjustified. But I let the hate fuel the job search at least. I'm too embarrassed to tell anyone in my personal life that any of this happened and just say that I'm looking for a better job. An important takeaway from this, I think, is that I saw no issue behaving this way because I felt no sense of accountability. Deep down, I didn't care about this job, or the company, or the work I was doing, so any potential consequences to my actions, such as getting too big to live, didn't even cross my mind. On my last day, I go ahead and start asking a few people I was close with how much money they make. I know it can be a taboo subject, but I'm probably never gonna see those guys again, so what's the harm? I find out that people working there for anywhere between 15 to 30 years are making a frankly embarrassingly low salary, to the extent that I'm ticked at the upper management on their behalf. This was a dead-end job at a dead-end company, and I'm better off for getting out when I did. Lessons learned, I guess. All this turned out to be a blessing in disguise. This was the kick in the pants I needed to leave the company, and I was eventually able to secure a great position with a great company, a place I can really spread my roots and build a career. I landed a managerial role roughly equivalent to my former boss's. My hate towards him has cooled. I still don't think fondly of the guy, but now that the shoes are on my feet, I completely understand why things went down the way they did. I mean, I get it. No call, no show. You have a lot of responsibilities. It's going to come back down hard on you. But considering how essential it sounded like OP was, it is kind of stunning to me that instead of just outright firing OP, they demote them down to the basement level worker and they still have them come in. Honestly, I think that is the sign of how trash that place is to work, that they want to still just keep you around in some degree. They don't even have to adjust your pay or lower you down the totem pole. They just say, you have less responsibilities now, but please keep coming in. Red Rover Rose commented, demoted for calling out sick one day while you were already covering his work? Glad you're gone from that company. OP responded commenting, to clarify, warehouse manager wasn't my boss. We were roughly laterally linked on the org chart. Warehouse manager and I had the same boss, the guy who demoted me, and I think he was ticked because I didn't message him but messaged my work homie instead. I don't know, the guy was a tool. I didn't really get into it in the post, but he made some implications about my character when he demoted me that really upset me. Our next story is, today I messed up by letting my younger cousin win at Mario Kart. So this happened a few months ago, but it's still kinda messing with me. My 8-year-old cousin was over for a family thing, and he's a pretty quiet kid, gets overwhelmed around adults, and mostly just sits in a corner with his Switch. I thought maybe I could help him feel more included, so I offered to play some Mario Kart with him. He lit up right away. Told me he loved racing games, but he never gets to win when he plays with his older brother. So I figured, yeah, sure, why not? I'll let him have a couple of wins, help him feel like a champ. I started sandbagging a bit, not drifting much, slowing down at the end so he could pass me. The usual big cousin move, you know? He wins 3 races in a row and he's bouncing around like he just won the lottery, yelling, I'm actually good at this. And my aunt is clapping and smiling like he just graduated college or something. Wholesome moment, 10 out of 10. But then he wants to keep playing, like a lot. I keep letting him win because I'm thinking, alright, this'll burn out eventually. Spoiler, it didn't. Fast forward to now, this kid brings the Switch over every time he visits. He walks in the door like, "You ready to lose again?" And I laugh, but inside I know it's not a joke anymore. He grinded. He actually practiced. He knows all the shortcuts, hits every drift, uses mushrooms like some kind of kart racing warlock. I started trying again, and he still beats me. Like regularly, it's not even close sometimes. And the worst part? He talks trash, like straight up, maybe you should pick baby mode, and did you mean to fall off Rainbow Road, or... His dad, my uncle, told me he plays every day now and tells his school friends, I beat a grown-up at Mario Kart and made him quit, which technically happened once when I rage quit after getting blue-shelled twice in one race. I'm not proud. Anyway, yeah, I was just trying to be nice and now I have a pint-sized rival who's slowly destroying my gaming self-esteem one race at a time. At least he says I'm his favorite cousin now, before he obliterates me on Wario Stadium. You know, I really thought this was going to go a much more depressing route. I'm actually really kind of glad that, it inspired them to learn Mario Kart and get better and basically keep beating up their bigger cousin at Mario Kart. It kind of takes me back to my first relationship where I would play some games with them sometimes and I would intentionally sandbag a bit just because I wanted to see them happy when they won. It never culminated in anything like them calling me out or them having a rude awakening if they play the game with someone else or something, but I definitely get that mindset of you're with somebody that you adore or you like and you just want to see them happy, so you give them a win or two. Don't get me wrong though, there's definitely a number of people I've seen out there over the years that are like, you have to crush the competition, you cannot let them win ever. Let them win via their own merits, they have to get up and prove it themselves. Firestorm19 commented, if you read it as a positive, you're the cool cousin who plays video games with him. You describe him as a quiet kid, probably not socializing in family functions, usually those are for older people, and he finally found something he's able to express pride in or is good at. If you want to be the adult in the room, try to reinforce his enjoyment of the competition and grind in other things outside of Mario Kart, as it seems he really tried to improve. It's nice that he's able to get out of his shell and actually enjoy coming over and spending time with you. Not all families are close like that. It's the same thinking of when a dad physically races his kid. No way an 8-year-old takes down a 30-year-old, but it happens. If you're annoyed by his attitude, maybe try to talk to his dad about trying to get him to be more sportsmanlike. Again, he's 8, so it may take time. Sambe Vialo commented, you can speak with an 8-year-old. They're much smarter than most people think. I bet he's just mimicking what his older brother did to him. That's how he learned and what he thinks is normal. And let's be honest, a bit of banter in competitive video games is fine, as long as everyone is happy. OP, you can explain that you don't like when he pushes it too far, but you really like to play with him and that he made amazing progress. Next time he pushes, you'll do a break. Can be 1 hour or 1 year. You don't know when you'll want to play again. But you're an amazing cousin. You pushed your little cousin to be better in something. Now try to do that in other things. Our next story is, today I messed up for allowing HR to hire a guy I dated once. Now he's my boss and he's hanging it over me like I missed out. For context, I'm not good at remembering faces, especially the faces of people I only went on a date with once. Early in my college career, me and my current boyfriend had a rough patch and were broken up. After a few months of going through the 5 stages of grief with my friends, they advised me to do what any lonely and sad girl would do, go on Tinder. I do just that, and after a string of mixed experiences, I matched with my future boss. He was an odd, nervous fellow, mostly the type to ask a string of questions and not add much else. Apparently we had some classes together, hence why he was so excited to match with me. But I didn't really vibe with him, so after the date I politely told him that I wasn't entirely interested. He pushed on asking why, and I said I was gonna put a hold on dating for now and focus on myself. At least that was my original plan. Life happens, and my boyfriend and I reconcile like a week after that last date in a very romantic way. He starts walking me to class again, and then suddenly I get a very long and bitter text from my last date. I didn't spend too much time reading and promptly deleted the text and blocked him. Fast forward to the present, the last boss of my company quit. I was offered his position, but I wasn't quite ready for it, so they put out the position to the wider job market. And wouldn't you know, my date from years ago applies. He seemed good on paper, having all the credentials and personality to fit the company culture, but then I freaked up. He told me that we knew each other. I should have probably looked deeper into that statement before moving forward with him, but honestly, I just wanted to have the managerial responsibilities off my back. Unfortunately, I only remember when I found his cell number was on my block list. And now, with him as my boss, he's making my work life unbearable. He dismisses every advice or statement I make, he gives me impossible deadlines, and recently at our 4th of July party, he had the gall to imply that I missed out for picking the wrong guy to date. Bro, the only mistake I made was giving you the time of day in the first place. Don't worry, I'll get HR in your butt soon enough. Yeah, I'm glad OP mentioned that they have HR at their company. I imagine OP's not looking forward to the HR meetings, maybe even like a face-to-face thing, but it seems pretty clear-cut that there's like some weird, what's the opposite of favoritism going on, targeted harassment. Our next story is, today I messed up by chugging a THC seltzer. I've never consumed, ingested, inhaled THC in any form. I saw the seltzer water at the gas station and I thought, I bet that's good. I like beer enough. Surely this will provide a buzz similar to a beer or two. So I took a few sips of it, waited, nothing. So I drank the rest of it. Sat down to have some spaghetti and then, boy, this spaghetti is sitting heavy. Holy cow. Oh crap. I ended up making my way to my bed. I laid down and wrapped myself in the covers and stared at my fan. Every time I would feel my mind slipping away, I would look back at the fan and I would point at it, connecting my eyes, my hands, and my consciousness. One thing that happened repeatedly throughout the evening, I heard a motorcycle come to the intersection at the end of my driveway, sit there revving loudly, and then take off down the road. I don't think it was real. For one, it's not typical in my neighborhood, and two, it was too long-lasting and frequent. At some point, I did manage to fall asleep. I woke up at about 3 a.m. noticing that I could remain conscious of a sentence, or a thought long enough to complete it. I now understand that 60 milligrams of nano-encapsulated THC may be a little bit much for a first experience, but having had no encounters with this chemical until this, I don't have a whole lot of interest in trying it again. So I don't know where OP lives, but it just is so wild to me as a place where it's just not accepted to have something like that OP could just walk into like a gas station and pick up a THC seltzer water over the counter no problem. I mean, I'm assuming there was probably like at least an ID check, but still it's crazy you can just get THC seltzer water. rClab commented, regarding the whole motorcycle sitting at the intersection for too long thing, weed definitely freaks with your perception of time, especially so if you have a low tolerance. I've sat and played video games while high for what felt like to me an hour, but I looked at the clock and it had only been like 10 minutes. FBib Macklin commented, I talked all night with my friends about everything. Yeah, no, that was 45 minutes. My friends then ate a whole pan of underdone brownies and barfed. I miss my 20s. Our next story is, today I messed up by falling asleep during my wife's work presentation. My wife, 33-year-old female, works for a big marketing firm and had been stressing about a huge presentation she had to give over Zoom. Since I work from home too, she asked me to sit nearby for moral support. Her laptop was hooked up to the big TV, she was presenting to like 20 people, and I sat on the couch behind the camera. What I didn't expect was her soft, soothing PowerPoint voice and dim lights and post-lunch food coma to knock me the heck out. I woke up about 20 minutes later to her glaring at me mid-slide. Apparently my light snoring had been picked up by her mic and broadcast to everyone in the meeting. Her boss even jokingly said, well, at least someone's relaxed, while everyone chuckled. She was mortified. I'm still banned from sitting in on her meetings. I definitely understand her being upset, but also there is some small, minimally flattering thing about being so soothing and so relaxing that you can just drift off. But at the same time, I guess if there's anything that becomes snooze material, it's probably sitting through a darkly lit PowerPoint presentation. Our next story is, today I messed up by hiding a spoon from my roommate for 3 years, and now I don't know what to do with it. My roommate and I have been living together throughout college, and she's my best friend. In the first year of living together, there was a situation where I left her measuring cup in the kitchen sink and ran the food disposal without checking if anything was in it. The handle of the measuring cup got bent, but not the actual measuring area, so I thought it would be okay. My roommate saw the damage and had a surprising emotional reaction. That was the first time she was ever really mad at me, so it made the whole situation very memorable for me. She had her own reasons for her reaction, which I don't blame her for. I apologized and we're good. But I had done it again with her spoon not too long after that moment, and left a small scratch on the metal inner scoop part. I swear, after this, I haven't made the same mistake. I was a bit scarred from her reaction and didn't want her to be upset at me, so I did the logical thing and hid the crime, the spoon, in my room. Fast forward 3 years, we've just graduated college and will be soon going about our separate ways. I just found the spoon again in my room, and I don't know what to do with it. She's very observant, so I'm surprised she hadn't noticed up to this point, but I'm wondering if she might notice now that she's taking her stuff home now, and if I should just put it back. I'm not too worried about what kind of reaction I'll get because I don't think it'll be the same, but I think it's kind of funny that I held on to it after all these years in fear of her getting upset at me. I thought about continuing to hold on to it and giving it to her as a future gift or something to laugh about in the future. I saw somewhere that you could turn spoons into rings, so maybe turn it into a ring and give it to her. Curious if anyone else has any fun suggestions or if I should just put it back. Thanks. So I'm just trying to figure out here, like, is this a gold-plated spoon? Is the spoon made of pure silver? Is it like a commemorative spoon that's a special design, which would make sense that you would be so upset about it? Or is it just one single slightly scratched spoon from like the bulk pack you get from Walmart one time and you really don't care all that much about? I mean, God forbid if OP felt that much remorse, they could go out and buy another one for $10 and replace not just one, but 30 of them. Crash Test King commented, "How is throw it away not even considered here? The fact that such a stupidly obvious solution wasn't even considered makes me wonder if this is even real." Our next story is, today I messed up by wearing noise-canceling headphones during a fire drill. So I'm, 21-year-old male, an intern at a tech company. Today, I decided to really focus. So I put on my fancy noise-canceling headphones and cranked up the lo-fi. About 20 minutes later, I thought I felt someone tap my shoulder but didn't really register it. Apparently there was a fire drill scheduled, but nobody told me. Everyone evacuated. I just kept happily coding away, totally oblivious. Next thing I know, a firefighter in full gear is standing in front of me waving his arms. Everyone was outside watching through the window while he led me out. I got applauded by my coworkers as most dedicated employee, but my manager didn't look amused. Now, it's definitely not the same thing as doing it at work, but it's kind of the same thing as to why, even though I want to try it, I don't really want to use earplugs while sleeping. I mean, especially if you're the kind of person that uses alarms, it might help you very easily sleep through them. But also, like, I wouldn't want to get used to having those earplugs and then miss a phone call or something where it's coming from somebody that's kind of in a dire situation. Effective 2/1376 commented, "Don't they have strobe lights in addition to the audible alarm? They are needed to alert employees or visitors with hearing issues. Also, there needs to be in place a head count system so they know who is in the building at any given time so they can identify anyone missing. Firefighters really don't want to risk their lives going into a burning building to search for someone that ends up being out to lunch. This is 100% on your company's leadership, not you. The whole point of a drill is to point out potential issues. You wearing headphones helped identify two. I would respectfully bring these points up to leadership as a matter of continuous improvement." Our next story is, today I messed up by letting my friend see inside my freezer. So he was over today and we were cooking stuff and I usually don't have people over, so I opened the freezer and he was understandably confused as to why I had so much clothes in my freezer. I used to have hallucinations of bugs in my clothes periodically, so at some point, I had just shoved all of my clothes in the freezer, like dresses and shirts and stuff, so I could freeze the hallucination bugs and just never took them out. And so I had to awkwardly explain this to him because I didn't know what else to say. I've only been friends with him for not that long, so I feel like I seem like a crazy person, but I can't do anything about it now, So I'm just laying in bed replaying the moment over and over. And the clothes are still in the freezer. Edit, I kept writing closet instead of freezer. Why? Edit, guys, I'm okay. The bugs thing was from a while ago. I have therapy and meds now for my anxiety and stuff, but thank you for your concern. It's just awkward to have to explain that part of my life to someone I just know recently. So, completely safe zone here. Not judging. I understand. Things are hard. Things have been going on. But why are the clothes still in the freezer? OP seems to know that the hallucination bugs aren't real, aren't in there. And I mean, if they were, they're long dead by now. Why are they still in the freezer? Mostly Gray commented, taken at face value, clothes in the freezer? Normal. Hallucinations of bugs in your clothes? I hear you. I've had bugs on me and in my clothes before. Former farmer, and I also used to work in the woods. It's a fair fear. My wife occasionally gets the creepies. She's also worked in the woods. Pathological fear for no reason? Look for cognitive behavior therapy. It did wonders for my brother's pathological fear of Parkinson's. I know that's not related, but it's the same pathology. You're cool. It's not that weird. I've got my own weird feelings. They're just less obvious. They're all clothing related, so I get you. It's not bugs, it's just a process thing. I hate things touching my neck. I have to put my left shoe on before my right, though I can do either sock now, so that's better. I have a thing about my ears and hats. I can't describe it, but I'm better with it now. It just takes some time and effort. However, there is no harm to anyone about putting clothes in the freezer. Now that you mention it, it sounds nice in the summer. In the winter, I always run my shirt and trousers through the dryer for a few minutes, just to feel warm. No harm, no foul. Our next story is, today I messed up ripping butt on an airplane. So I'm on this overnight flight and nature calls. I get up to pee and head to the bathroom, but there's a line in the aisle. A person starts coming back down the aisle who just used the bathroom, so I do the polite thing and turn sideways to let them pass. Big mistake. As I turn to let them pass, I accidentally let one slip and ripped one of the loudest, most unapologetic farts of my life right into the face of the poor guy sleeping in the aisle seat behind me. Like, directly. No buffer, maximum impact. Luckily, he and the rest of the row had AirPods in and were fully knocked out, but this guy in the direct line of fire was mouth wide open, but no reaction. My guardian angel blessed me. I hope he didn't wake up with a foul taste in his mouth and doesn't get pink eye. This is one of those situations where, like, it'll never circle back around to you. There's almost certainly never going to be a situation where somebody goes, hey, remember that time you ripped one right in a guy's face on the airplane? But you still lay in bed mortified at the mere thought of what happened. Like, I remember one time it was gym class and we had to do some running, and every time my foot planted when I started running, it was like the muffler was just firing off. Nothing ever came from it. It never got back to me. I never got called out for it or anything, but you're still traumatized just by the idea and the thought of it. Nollyism commented, doesn't the lower cabin pressure cause people to be more gassy? I feel like I read that somewhere. The Trub commented, lots of things contribute to that. People are off their usual bathroom schedule, eating different foods, more coffee, sometimes turbulence knocks something loose, etc. There's a reason COVID didn't spread in airplanes as much as it could have. They were already built to be really efficient at filtering the air. Our next story is, today I messed up by looking up my significant other's Reddit. So, today I messed up. I was doing some browsing on Reddit and came across a post I remembered my male 28, girlfriend, female 30, shared with me that she posted. We've been together almost 10 years now, kinda high school sweetheart stuff. It was something cutesy about a farming game she liked and gave feedback. She got a few silly and exciting comments and was excited to show me. Well, I found it and saw her profile. We never really made any effort to connect via Reddit. I'm pretty much offline for 99% of my time, so I decided to see what else she posted, and I came across a post. Here is why I messed up. I saw a post that was in relationship advice, definitely not meant for me, but I'm human. I opened the post and there was a thread with 60 plus responses. The whole post was about a really rough time frame a while ago. This has me devastated. It's all stuff we're addressing and actively working on, but to see that frustration from her made me feel like crap. I won't go into a lot of detail, but essentially I was so depressed that I wasn't even showing up for myself, let alone anyone else. I'm still working really hard and want to be in an even better position. I've gone to therapy and I'm getting medication, but it's definitely still a bit of a roller coaster for me. We're supposed to go out to the zoo today with our 6-year-old today, and I've been in the bathroom for almost an hour trying to retain any bit of composure. I know I'll be fine in a bit, but holy crap, I should have let sleeping dogs lie. Update, I talked to her about the whole thing and we had a good conversation about it all. Honestly kind of laughed at where we used to be at. I'm grateful for the commenters that were genuinely trying to help me. Depression is a long road, but she has my back. Yeah, as much as Reddit can be a tool to kind of get outsider input and feedback and kind of find some kind of way to express yourself or vent and get help through things, one of the most common criticisms and drawbacks I see is the fact that you're kind of putting all of your stuff out there for the world to see. Obviously, you try to anonymize it as much as you possibly can, but if somebody finds out your profile, I can see how easy it would be to take that very personally, even if it is like very anonymized. Swagmaster commented, she was frustrated enough to seek out advice from total strangers and still chose to work things out with you. Don't get too stuck in your head about it. Focus on what you do have and keep moving forward. Our next story is, today I messed up by throwing a surprise party for my super introverted roommate. Not sure how I feel about this, but I'll share with you all anyway. This happened last week and I still can't decide if I was being thoughtful or just an idiot. I live with 3 other people, and one of them, let's call him Tom, he's probably the most introverted person I've ever met. He's not rude or anything, just really quiet. Like headphones on while cooking, disappears into his room kind of quiet, but he's a nice bloke, pays bills on time, always polite, no drama. Anyways, I found out it was his birthday coming up and I thought, hey, maybe we should do something for him. I figured maybe he's just introverted because no one ever makes an effort, right? So I planned a small surprise party at our house. Just a few people, some drinks, nothing crazy. Ordered his favorite cake. I had to casually ask him 2 weeks earlier what flavor he liked. He said chocolate almond. Got some decorations, invited a couple mutual friends. So the day comes. We all hide in the living room, lights off, waiting like idiots. He walks in. We all yell, "Surprise!" And this man just stares, like full-on deer in headlights. No smile, no laugh, just frozen. Says nothing, and then mumbles something like, "I just need to lie down," and literally walks out of the house. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. He didn't come back for 4 hours. Everyone slowly left. I felt awful. When he finally came back, I tried to apologize, and he just said, "I know you meant well, but please don't do that again." So, yeah, lesson learned, not everyone wants a party, especially not people who find group socializing to be a form of torture. You know, one thing I think I've kind of gleaned from hearing stories like this is that surprise parties are in general usually not that great of an idea unless you are absolutely certain that they would want one. I feel like it's a telltale sign that surprise parties are in general usually a bad idea when they are like the perfect trope go-to storyline for a sitcom. It is so easy for mistakes to happen or for something to go wrong. People getting upset that nobody's recognizing their party, situations like OPs where they don't really want that center of attention, people who just want it low-key. Maybe somebody's going through something and they don't want all that surprise and celebration. CDW commented, "Definitely a thoughtful idiot, and dang right not everyone wants a party. I wouldn't even want a party that was not at my home, where I had warning and time to mentally prepare, as well as an easy escape. Being ambushed in my own home, words can't describe. In my old age, I'd probably handle it better than I would have 20 years ago, but it would still be highly unpleasant for me. Hard enough to get through other people's birthday parties, but the cake, always go with the cake." Our next story is, today I messed up by telling my girlfriend I'm not ready to take care of her kid. I, 22-year-old male, have been dating my girlfriend, 27-year-old female, for a little over 4 months. She has a 5-year-old son from a previous relationship. I knew that from the beginning, and I never pretended like it was a problem. I liked her a lot, still do, and I figured I would just take things slow and see how it goes. For the first few months, we mostly spent time alone. I met her son briefly once, just a quick hello when I dropped her off, but she never pushed me to be involved, which I appreciated. She said she wanted to wait and see if the relationship was going somewhere before introducing me more seriously into his life. Well, last week she brought it up again. She said she thinks we're getting serious and she wanted to talk about what kind of role I might want to have in her son's life long term. I didn't know how to respond, so I just told her the truth. I really like you, but I'm not sure I'm ready to take care of a kid. Not right now. She went quiet. For a few seconds, she just stared at me, and then she got angry. Not loud, not dramatic, just quietly furious. She said, "Then what are we even doing here?" I tried to explain that I wasn't saying I would never be ready, just that I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to pretend I was. I told her I wasn't trying to hurt her, I just wanted to be honest. She said something like, "If you date me, you date both of us. That's the deal. I don't have time for maybe someday. My son deserves someone who's all in." After that, she left. We haven't talked since. I texted her the next day and apologized if I handled it badly. I said I respected her and her kid and I didn't mean to sound selfish, but she didn't respond. I get why she's upset. I didn't think it would come out like that, but maybe deep down I'm not ready for that responsibility. I just didn't expect it to end like this. I'm gonna be honest, I think I'm surprised OP thought it would go any better than it did. I mean, you're dating somebody who you knew full well had their kid. What did you expect them to say? I think honestly, I'm glad the mom had that kind of reaction because how many times do you hear the story of a step-parent who comes in who wants nothing to do with that kid and it's kind of this weird like roommate almost situation? Like, it's nice that she's looking for somebody that wants to be a part of the kid's life. Maltonerdist commented, "This is the reality of dating someone with a child. You don't get an option to be in a long-term relationship with only them. They also know that their partner will have to choose whether or not you are someone they want in their child's life long-term. If you're not ready to have a child in your life, that's totally fine. You need to restrict your dating pool accordingly. But there's something else you should know. It's okay for relationships to end. You can enjoy your time with someone and realize that your paths have diverged. You can treasure good memories that have started to be crowded out with bad memories. You can take the things you enjoyed about the relationship, the love and the laughter and the happiness, and acknowledge that and put it on the shelf in your history and move on. People think that the end of the relationship always has to be this traumatic moment. And it's possible that your breakup will be hard or harrowing, but that doesn't mean it has to be. And if it is, that's a temporary situation that will pass. Unless you die beside your partner after decades together, there will one day be the last time you think of every single person you were ever with, and they never surface to mind again. You can't fathom that right now with them being such a part of your life, but it's true. And it's okay for you to initiate the process that starts that eventual moment, even if they aren't ready to do so. Our next story is, today I messed up by letting my girlfriend take a funny picture of me and having her friends accidentally see it. This happened about a month ago. I posted this in a couple of other subreddits just venting, but I figured it would make a good Today I Messed Up post. This is one of those moments that hits you straight in the gut and makes you cringe for years. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend and I were hanging out after I got out of the shower. It was freezing in the apartment and I made a comment about how cold I was. She glanced down, laughed and said, "Wow, that's crazy. I can't believe how small it can get." I looked too and yeah, it honestly did look ridiculous. I'm not the biggest down there anyways, but most of all, I'm a grower. If you don't know what that looks like in extreme cases, just imagine an acorn sitting on top, barely over an inch. Sorry to be graphic, but you need to know how embarrassing this looked. After laughing a bit at the situation, she asked if she could take a picture. We both have secret photo vault apps where we keep each other's photos like that, so I was fine with it as long as we followed our usual routine. Move the photo to the vault immediately, delete it from the main camera roll, and then clear it from recently deleted. She took a couple of pictures from different angles and lighting, giggling at the absurdity. I know this might sound immature, but we do have an immature sense of humor, and just thought it was a silly moment. After that, I specifically remember saying, "Alright, seriously, delete those now." I watched her go through all the necessary steps of moving and deleting all the pictures and was sure that would be the end of it. A few days later, we went on a weekend trip to Traverse City. We visited wineries, went on hikes, and took a charter out on a boat into Lake Michigan. It was a great trip, and we had a bunch of pictures from it. The weekend after we got back, she had two of her friends over and was showing them photos from the weekend. At one point, my girlfriend handed them the phone to keep scrolling through pictures as she went to grab a drink from the fridge. I was sitting across the room as I watched the two girls sitting next to each other on the couch scrolling through pictures one by one. The next moment will probably be burned into my memory forever. One more swipe, and I saw both girls' eyes widen. They looked at each other for a moment and then put their hands to their mouths as they started laughing super hard. I was a bit confused at first until their eyes met mine and my heart dropped. My girlfriend was just walking up behind them and quickly said, "Wait, give me that," and snatched the phone out of their hands. Her face went pale. "Oh my god, I thought I deleted that," she muttered as she was tapping at her screen, now actually deleting it. One of them said, "I'm so sorry, we didn't mean to see that," and the other added, "We just kept scrolling, we didn't know." But I could tell that they were still holding back laughter, glancing at each other. I just sat there completely frozen. My face felt red hot. My girlfriend sat down next to me, clearly upset. Before either of us could say anything, one of her friends awkwardly changed the subject. I don't even remember what they said exactly, but something about the trip which elevated the tension just enough until they ended up grabbing a beer and heading to our bedroom until they left. After her friends left, my girlfriend came straight up to the bedroom apologizing profusely. I initially started yelling, but could quickly see how sorry she felt as she buried her face in her hands, crying. I know this might sound like a BS way for her to get herself out of my justified anger, but at the end of the day, I love her and know she didn't mean for this to happen. I wrapped my arm around her, pulled her in, and told her it was okay. She cried for a few minutes while I told her it wasn't a big deal and I would be fine. I decided to just man up and push through the embarrassment. What else can you do? Only thing I can hope is that the image doesn't stay burned in their memory whenever I see them in the future. I'm gonna be honest, there is a shocking amount of comments on this post that are like, well, they're just gonna have to see the comparison so they know it's not really like that. I feel like I'm seeing the other side of Reddit leaking into the "Today I Messed Up" posts. AutumnStars9 commented, "Why did they just keep it on the screen and laugh? If that had been me, I would have practically thrown the phone to get rid of the image because 1, that's none of my business. 2, I know that's embarrassing and I would hate to be in that position. And 3, I wouldn't want to see my friend's partner like that. Maybe I'm the weird one seeing these other comments, but it would really make me rethink having these girls as friends if they have so little respect for me or my partner that they sit there laughing at the picture." Our next story is, "Today I messed up by not tipping the cashier." This happened to me a few days ago, but I can't stop thinking about it. This story takes place in America. My brother-in-law showed my family a mom-and-pop buffalo wing place roughly 15 years ago when he was dating my sister. It was one near his hometown, and he'd been going there since it opened when he was a teen. My family loved the place, and it became a new family favorite. After graduating, I moved in a neighboring town for work and would occasionally go to the restaurant, maybe just a few times a year. Right before COVID, my brother went on a study abroad, but when COVID hit, he was quickly rushed back to America. He moved into the town with the restaurant. Once the COVID restrictions lifted and we were able to go out to eat, we decided to go to the restaurant once a week. We love the food a lot, and it allows us to catch up and spend some quality time together. We would invite our friends and family to occasionally join us for these weekly outings, but the two of us have been going there every week for nearly 4 years. The way this restaurant works is as follows. You first order and pay at the counter, and then find yourself a seat in the sitting area. Once your food is ready, they call your number and you pick up your order. When you're done eating, you must clear your own area and toss your trash. It's like a fast food restaurant in that way, but nicer. There are no waiters. This will be an important detail later. This restaurant has a nice lunch special which includes wings, fries, and a drink, all for a very reasonable price. They also give you a small side cup of ketchup, ranch, blue cheese, or their buffalo sauce. On Mondays and Tuesdays, they run the special all day, and it's on those days in the evening that my brother and I go. 8-ish months ago, they hired a new guy who worked as the cashier. For the purposes of this story, let's call him Jay. Jay's in his early 20s and is studying something along the lines of criminal justice at the local college. Jay was friendly, and we always made small talk during the ordering process. Since we went weekly and ordered the same thing every time, he started to memorize our orders. Now, this wasn't unique. My brother and I have practically ordered the same thing from this restaurant for 15 years, and some of the past cashiers have memorized our orders, or at least part of our orders. Jay had our orders only partially memorized at this currently, but he mixed up some parts of our orders. No problem, it's easy to correct and there was never an issue. 3 months ago, my brother broke his arm. It was a complete fracture of his radial bone. He ended up needing surgery and a metal plate and screw implanted to repair the bone. Due to this, he couldn't use his arm for anything. We decided to take a 2-ish month break since it's hard to eat buffalo wings with only one arm, and there's no way he orders boneless wings and uses a fork instead. No shame to the boneless wing eaters. It's very convenient to eat them that way, but that's not how we roll here. Once the doctor cleared him to lift 5 pounds, we would go back. 4 weeks ago, the doctor cleared my brother, and we started going back. Jay was excited to see us, and we were glad to be back. We ordered and sat down. Jay came up to us with our food a few minutes later and asked us where we had been. We explained what had happened, and my brother showed him the surgical scar. Jay then starts talking about how he gets how my brother feels and says that he broke his knee last year. He goes on to tell a story about how there was a gang incident, and a gang ended his cousin and broke his knee. He didn't say which gang, and we didn't ask. The way that Jay was explaining the story, it sounds like he was doing a bit. He was deadpan in a way that makes my brother and I think he was joking. It felt like he was telling one of those really long stories that end in a pun, but there was no pun at the end. His cadence and inflections made it seem unserious. We both tried to remain serious, but we gave each other a side eye and kind of giggled for a second. We apologized and said that we're sorry for laughing and sorry for his loss. He then went on to explain some wrist-based stretches my brother could do to help heal his hand. My brother thanked him and told Jay that the doctor gave him a list of stretches, like the one that Jay gave. After we left the restaurant, we talked about how weird that was. 3 weeks ago, when we went in, Jay asked my brother if he had any ways to improve the restaurant. My brother jokingly said, "If the restaurant wants to hire me on as a consultant, I'll happily give some ideas, but I don't give ideas for free." Now, my brother is a smart man, but a bit of a smart butt. I don't know why Jay asked my brother. He's not an entrepreneur or businessman. He's also going to the local college, studying to be an accountant. It was weird that he only asked my brother and not me. But I also thought it was interesting because, as far as I know, he's just an employee as he doesn't have a stake in the restaurant. 2 weeks ago, my brother couldn't make it to the weekly dinner. I was already spending the afternoon with my sister and her family, so we decided to go together instead of me going with my sister. We go up, order, and sit down like usual. When we got our food, I noticed I got a side of buffalo sauce instead of ketchup. I always get a side of ketchup for my fries, and my brother gets the additional buffalo sauce because he likes to dip his fries in them. I figured it was Jay mixing up our orders again. If this was to happen when my brother and I were together, we could easily switch the condiments. Since he wasn't here this time, I went up to Jay, told him the situation, and asked him if I could get ketchup. He tells me, "Oh, I gave someone at your table a thing of ketchup. Just take it from them." Then he walked into the kitchen in the back. I was kind of shocked, but returned without my ketchup. I just used the buffalo sauce, and I ended up taking some of my sister's ketchup once she was done using it. This week, me and my brother went again. We ended up going an hour before they closed due to my brother having to stay late at work. The restaurant was empty. We got to the counter, and before we can place our orders, Jay asks, "Do you guys know of any side hustles to make some extra cash?" My brother jokingly says, "Have you thought about doing gift card scams on grandmas?" Not meant to be taken seriously, not a great joke, but a joke nonetheless. Jay instantly sombers up and says, "My grandma died this morning. I got the call at 4 a.m. My brother and I were shocked. We apologized and said it was meant as a joke and that it wasn't even a good joke. I was surprised that he still came into work. As I was paying, I hit no tip as Jay said under his breath, "Money is tight right now. If you could tip, it would be nice." Sadly, he said this seconds after I hit no tip and I couldn't go back. I didn't say anything and went down to sit as my brother ordered and paid for himself, and he also hit no tip. Jay came out 10 minutes later with our food. Instead of handing us our food, he places the food down at a neighboring table, sits down with us, and says, "We need to talk about the no tip situation." He went on to say that we're regulars, but he noticed that we never tip. My brother and I go on to give our reasons. We aren't being waited on. Tipping culture has gotten out of hand, and it's annoying to be asked to tip at places where it isn't needed. We pay before we eat the food. Jay counters by saying things like, I've memorized your orders. I try to make this an enjoyable experience for you guys. You can give a tip based on your experience from last time. For like 5 minutes, we're talking in circles. We give our reasons and Jay gives his points. Jay also starts escalating the situation. He also brings up that we made fun of his grandma dying. We again apologized and said that we weren't making fun of his grandma. It was just an ill-timed joke. I asked why he didn't take the day off. Jay goes on to say that money's tight and he needs the money. He says that he makes $16 an hour plus tips. My brother says that's how much he makes working at a phone store. We say they should raise the prices if they need more money. We shouldn't have to tip at what is basically an upscale fast food restaurant. Up to this point, we had been talking calmly, but no side is giving way to each other. Then the cook from the back comes out and says, Jay, it's not that big of a deal, just give them their food. Jay says, I will once we're done here. At this point, my brother is ticked and is tired of this. My brother doesn't mind escalating situations and digs his heels when confronted. I'm much more of a people pleaser and I always try to de-escalate situations. So my brother starts raising his voice at Jay saying, you should listen to your coworker. We for sure aren't going to tip you after this. The coworker comes back out a minute later, takes the food from Jay and gives it to us. We appreciated it, but now we're arguing with Jay while eating buffalo wings. The conversation ends shortly after that with Jay saying, if you aren't going to tip, you should get your food to go since you don't appreciate this place. My brother responds by saying, we will get it to go next time so we don't have to see you. Jay gets up and walks away. He comes back with to-go boxes and says, here are your boxes if you want to leave so bad. We say, no, we paid to eat this here. We're going to eat it here. Next time we'll get it to go. Jay leaves the boxes and walks away. My brother and I just stare at each other and eat our food in silence. Mind you, we were the only people in the restaurant when this happened. We went an hour before closing and no one had come in after us. Because of this, Jay's walking around the seating area doing the end-of-day cleaning. The cook did come back out to check on us and make sure we were okay. He also apologized for what had happened. Our answers were short, but mostly because Jay was within earshot. When we were done, Jay was sweeping in front of the entrance, so we had to walk past him to leave. We tossed our food in the trash can, and I said, without making eye contact, sorry about your grandma again. He responded by saying, yeah, you probably won't see me again here. My brother responded with, good, and we walked out. We believe Jay will get fired, but we're going to take a week off just to be safe. The issue is that we always go at the same time and day. So if Jay's angry, he knows exactly when we will be there if he wants to confront us in the parking lot. I know Jay was mostly angry about his grandma, and I'm sure things would have gone very differently if that joke hadn't been made. On the other hand, if he wanted to ask why we don't tip, I think there was a reasonable way to bring it up and ask us, but to also accept our answer if we don't want to tip. And we are both pro-tip in cases of fancier sit-down restaurants and places where you're being waited on and served. There's just a time and place for tipping, and we don't believe it was this situation. Can I just say straight up, tipping in general frustrates me. I just feel like everybody should be paid a livable wage. It should just be factored into the cost of the food. Like, at the end of the day, prices aren't actually going up in that case because you're just not spending the extra money on the tip. It's frustrating, it creates expectations, it creates frustrations. It creates a situation where if you are a people pleaser like I tend to be, and you have a situation where you have a less than enjoyable waiting experience with the waiter or the server, I'm the one stuck with the do I tip them at all, and if I do, how much problem. That said, our next story is, today I messed up by mistaking a stranger's car for mine and sitting in it for 5 minutes before realizing. So this happened yesterday and I still want to crawl into a hole. I was leaving the grocery store, arms full of bags, fully in my own head listening to a podcast. I spot my car, same color, same model. So I confidently open the door. It was unlocked, which should have been my first clue, and plop myself down in the driver's seat. Immediately, I noticed 2 things. 1, there's a half-empty big gulp in the cup holder that I didn't buy. 2, there's a pair of fuzzy dice hanging from the mirror that I definitely do not own. I'm still sitting there like an idiot, bags on my lap, keys in hand, trying to process why my car suddenly has bonus accessories. About 5 minutes in, the actual owner of the car opens the passenger door, stares at me, and says, can I help you? I freeze like a raccoon caught in the trash. I blurt out, sorry, wrong car, grab my bags, scramble out, and practically sprint to my actual car parked 2 rows down. To make it worse, I had to drive by them on my way out. We made eye contact. I died inside. Situations similar to these are the bane of my existence. I remember when I was younger, we had recently gotten a new family car, and the last one was a totally different shape, like a black sedan. This new one was like a silver SUV kind of thing. I remember I got dropped off at like a doctor's office. They waited in the car. I come back out, and my brain goes, oh, black sedan, duh, and I go right to the passenger door just to see some random old lady turning and looking at me from the driver's seat. I do like that realization little head wobble and throw my hands up like, sorry, wrong car kind of thing, and immediately turn around where the actual car is parked, literally right behind me in the second spot. My mom's sitting in there laughing at me as I awkwardly hop into the passenger seat. Man, it just makes me cringe to think about. Miss Polytheist commented, it's actually better that he saw you drive off once he saw that your cars were identical. He probably thought to himself that it really was an honest mistake and not a crazy person trying to steal his car. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy story of how a Redditor severely messed up, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.